Good afternoon. My name is Engelhardt Unaeb, and I'm from Namibia, and I live in the northern part of Namibia, where that's where I work. I teach a subject known as arts education, which is a combination of three subjects: uh, um, visual arts, music, and drama. However, I am only responsible of teaching the music and dance part of the arts education. That's it from my side. I'm also a composer. I used to be a choir conductor. I love art songs and very interested in that as well.
I am Christiana, Afrikaner from Namibia. I'm in Walvis Bay, the coastal part of the country, retired from official duties of the ministry and now trying to be involved in community affairs. Yeah, currently I'm doing the dishcloth project with a few ladies, and I'm trying to be involved in ladies' arts and community arts. Thank you.
From my observations, um, I'll say number one, it'll be visual arts because a lot of people do take part in it. There's a lot of exhibitions, especially in the Windhoek area. However, in my region where I live in the Oshana region. Uh, the arts that are most visible is music and pop culture. But the local pop culture, which is known as Kwaito, that is more popular. And also another form that I can say that is very, very visible is also choral singing, but from a religious point of view. There's a lot of people in this region that are taking part in choral singing via the church. They sing in the church choirs, not community choirs, but mostly church choirs. But if I have to say it from a Namibian perspective, the first thing will be visual arts because there's been a lot of tremendous research in it or workshops and education in visual arts. When it comes to music, it's a little bit neglected, even though there are a lot of choirs and a lot of popular music culture. However, when it comes to the education of music education, it is a little bit lacking. So those are my observations.
Mm-hmm. And to add on what Engelhardt said, I will also agree with him that visual arts is a little bit stronger, but looking to the community choirs, especially church choirs, it seems to me that the strength is more with the choirs because they really don't need a lot of money to maintain a choir, while visual arts need some equipment and so on. Looking to the coastal area, it's true visual arts is really standing out because crafters are very busy. They use waste material and recyclable material to keep them busy with the craft. And it's kind of, they have kind of income from the craft that they are doing. So here at the coastal side, craft is really very strong comparing to the music again, while the choirs are more active in the center part of the country, in the northern part. The musicians here around is very active again because it's a kind of the bread and butter for them. So, and it's that they sustain themselves without really a big support from the government side.
I would also like to add when it comes to Oshana region, and when I mentioned the pop culture is very prevalent, uh, uh, it is because of arts as an entrepreneur, like arts entrepreneurship. A lot of musicians and even visual artists, it is mostly from a perspective of making money. It's as a business. So you'll find youngsters that are doing rap and singing. They go out, as Dr. Afrikaner just said now, they go out in the community and perform at different venues and different events. It's all about making money. However, when it comes to music education, it's a bit lacking. Visual arts education is a little bit more stronger, like Doctor said. However, when it comes to music, it's all about entrepreneurship, making beats and recording their songs and performing their songs and selling their CDs. That is more prevalent. So it's more from a business perspective. Even with visual artists, they'll paint their pictures, make their create their crafts and sell it. The first thing I see what artists can provide the community is entertainment, of course. And entertainment is just not music, but visual. Okay, sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
it's appreciation of arts, and that's one thing, that appreciation of arts, drama and singing and going to arts exhibitions and so forth. Push when it comes to the appreciation of arts. Now, I don't know how they can be educated on that. Perhaps is it more through workshops, or nowadays, everybody's on Facebook using social media platforms, perhaps creating little bit short clips of videos where it is sent out in the community, where they can learn on how to appreciate the arts, how to be a audience member, how to support it through being a audience member. We could learn more about appreciating the arts. And I've realized, I'm not an actor, but once I took part in a musical when I was younger, it was my first time that I took part in a musical where I have to act. So the music part of it was easy for me because I've been singing in our community choir for years, and learning the music was easy. However, learning the drama aspect was the very, very difficult. And before then, I thought it was a very easy thing to go on stage and act and so forth. But after going through that process of learning the lines, learning the moves, moving from one area to the other on the stage, it was such a difficult thing to do. It was the hardest thing that I've done in my life. And ever since that day, I have a huge appreciation of people that stand on stage and act, because there's so much that goes through your mind when you do it. You have to think about the lines, you have to think about the expression on your face, your body movements, the other movements, the directors' directions, and so forth. So while I was talking about my experience during that, I actually thought maybe another way one can also involve the community and make the community appreciate arts is if our communities are involved in the arts themselves, so that they can experience the procedure of becoming an artist, even if they are not an artist. But if they see it and feel it, they will have a greater appreciation for artists. Even if they are just a volunteer, maybe there's a community drama, and they are a volunteer doing the lights, or they are the volunteer doing the sound. If they are volunteer in such undertakings, they could see that it is not easy to do all of these things, and therefore they'll have a greater appreciation for it, and will support it even more.
Yeah, I will also add on with the appreciation, because the greatest challenge that we are facing here, that people don't really appreciate the arts. The community members are better off when appreciating the arts, but I want to concentrate on the teachers. If we can start at the child level, if we can start in schools, if teachers can start to appreciate what the arts is for, and if they start appreciate doing the arts with the children in schools, then I believe that we will have better um, adults who really understand the value of the arts. If the teachers can now start to emphasize the importance, if they can start to motivate the children to appreciate what arts is, then I believe that these children will grow up as informed adults. And then they will also appreciate what the others are doing, also appreciation of themselves from their side. If they can start with themselves, then they can appreciate what the others are doing. So mostly it's the greatest challenge besides the money issue. Money for me is second. If we can start to appreciate, then we can manage to have more funds, for instance. Like now, the Arts Council is open for assistance, financial assistance, but it doesn't help if they don't appreciate. Then they will get the money and then they will still be at the same spot. We won't move further. So that's why I also appreciate what Engelhardt is saying, that it's the challenge we have.
And I would also like to add to your point, Dr. Afrikaner, that perhaps the people in power don't have enough appreciation for the arts. Therefore, they are not going way beyond, over and up beyond, to promote the arts. And you know, firstly, one should say, when it comes to arts in Namibia, our Directorate of Arts and the Arts Council, they are really trying. But however, the people above them probably don't have enough appreciation because they did not have the same the experience as children of taking part or participating in arts, whether it's drama, singing, or visual arts, and therefore they don't have enough appreciation for it, that they sort of but neglect it. Maybe that's also one of the issues why it's not funded that much. However, I think our ministry is really trying. And the other thing is that also I've noticed also when it comes to the support of the different arts, they support visual arts more. You know, our ministry, they support visual artists more than musicians. And I think the reason for it is because visual art is more an individual process of working. It's one artist who has a theme, who is creating his or her a collection of drawings or crafts or whatever. Then they ask for funding, they get funded, and that's why it's successful, because it involves one person. Now, when it comes to musicians, it's a lot of collaboration. If you're a singer, somebody must play the piano, other person must play the drums, and it's a little bit more expensive, as you said earlier. And I think maybe in the future, our ministry can think more of supporting collaborations between the different art forms. And I've always said in many of the meetings I've been in that we should perhaps encourage a culture of musicals more. Musicals, because if you have a musical, it involves all the art forms. the visual artists and painters will create the set and paint the set and the backgrounds and the crafts with the props and stuff like that. Then you have the musicians who will do the singing and so forth. And then you have the actors who are also singing, but they are also acting at the same time. And you have the instrumentalists. So a musical or an opera, those type of forms of art actually involves more all the different types of arts, and it encourages collaboration. And I think that's also one way to maybe also improve the appreciation of the arts in the community.
If the community is also educated, if they know what we are striving for, the reason I'm saying this is, for instance, we have parents who are supporting their kids to do art forms, not really knowing that the children are busy to do arts, but they will support the kid to maybe join a choir or do dance classes and so on. Then they are eager to support. They will even go to concerts, or they will go to see what the kids are doing after school and so on. But when it comes to the kid is in school doing the arts in school, then it's becoming a problem. Then the same parent who was clapping hands for the kid to sing or encouraging the kid to dance at home, now all of a sudden have a problem with the child doing arts as in, let's say, a promotional subject, or studying in the arts afterwards. So I think we also need to educate the parents. It really doesn't help that we say that the school must start, but if the parents don't have the knowledge of what is about, then it doesn't help as well.
So the parents, they don't, the parents, they don't value arts education. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Okay,
so Engelhardt can comment on the heritage.
Please.
One of the things I've also observed regarding this topic or the heritage and the culture is globalization. Globalization of the arts, globalization, because we, nowadays, many of the youth, especially, are social media bound. Everything is social media. All of us are, we cannot live without our different social media platforms, without the technology, without our computers, without YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so forth. And who do we follow on those platforms? The international, American singers and writers and so forth. And therefore, many youngsters, it's almost there's this feeling of everybody wants to become an American. And in that same time, they are also losing out on their culture and their heritage. And also another thing that contributes to this is our national language being English. Because there are some parents that don't want their children to speak their native languages at home. They just speak English with their children. And so when they go to school, they actually don't know their culture, because they are raised as a Namibian English person, because they are so modernized. So it's also with that. So that is that's the first issue that we have. And and everything boils down to the parents. It says your first education starts at home. And your first education depends on the knowledge that your parents have. And now a lot of parents are also, they think that teaching their children about modern ways. It's the only way, because that's what our government is all about, and what they see on TV, the private schools and the beautiful English and so forth, and forgetting that actually it's the other way around. Like Maria Montessori once said, that if a child that speaks more than one language, at least two languages, is much smarter and does better at school because of being able to manage those two languages. It already opens up the child's thinking. So that's the one thing. And then the other thing is also there are sources that involves our heritage, literature. Books that were published. These books were published a very long time ago, and it's not a lot. Perhaps maybe it's just 3 or 4 books about music of Namibia. I can't speak on visual arts because I just know my field is music, but there are about 4 books that involves how to make Namibian instruments from found objects. And there's also that book is called Ongoma by Minitmans. There's another book by Peter Roos that has choral music in the different Namibian languages, and if it even has lesson plans in it. However, the teachers don't use it whatsoever. And the reason why they don't use it is because most teachers that teach arts education are not specialized in arts education. Mm-hmm. Arts education is one module, one small module that they do in their training. So they do, and I'm also teaching that. So they do a little bit of music, they do a little bit of drama, they do a little bit of visual arts, but it's not enough for them to really teach the arts in school. So at the same time, even though they learn some of it at university, when they go in the classroom, they've already forgotten everything because it's a little bit far-fetched for them, because they did not do it in much depth.
I see.
Yeah, let me also add on the cultural part of the country. I think it will be wise if the ministry starts to support the traditional life skills program again. There was a time that it was supported financially, and then some parents volunteered to come and do the traditional arts and crafts after school. And really then we could see that the children were interested in doing the arts. In some schools, they did visual arts. In some schools, they did traditional dances and music and so on. So once they stopped the financing of the program, most of the parents even don't turn up anymore. So for me, the traditional, what is the program? Life skills. It was really worth doing it even during school hours, because it's where the parents really put in some effort to teach what they did in the past. It's a kind of the history that they are bringing over to the youth of today. So once the government start to support this program, traditional life skills, yeah. Musicians, those guys who are standing up on their own to compose. Some guys are really not supported by anyone, but they do it as their own entrepreneurship, recordings, selling of CDs. I think that the musical part, if it comes to social justice, then the music is standing out, especially in the region where I am.
Do you agree, Engelhardt?
I agree. And especially, I'm also from the same area as Dr. Afrikaner. I'm from Swakopmund. She's from Wafelsberg. We both are from Irongo region. I have just moved because of work. And especially that region, the reason why the artists are so prominent there is because of tourism. Namibia is known for tourism, and we have a lot of German tourists every year because of our past. We used to be colonized by Germany, and therefore, and the Germans, they love the arts. They buy, even in Windhoek, they'll come and they'll buy some. There was one year, a German gentleman came to Windhoek and bought all the Namibian arts pieces that were on display in the National Gallery. So every now and then we have such things where Germans or tourists come, they buy the CDs, they attend the concerts, so that's the exciting thing about it. And of course, we have institutions like the College of the Arts that they are teaching music and visual arts, and they have programs. The main campus of the Namibian University also have a very strong visual arts department, a very, very well run and very visible program with all the activities they have there and so forth. So there are institutions, and there's also earlier we spoke about entrepreneurship. There's a lot of home studios nowadays also where people can go and learn how to play instruments or go and learn singing. And a lot of us, especially in the musical field, that were trained professionally or formally, were trained at home studios. I also attended classical singing classes for many years in Swakopmund and piano lessons in Swakopmund because my high school did not offer these things. And there are some people who are interested in these art forms, and the only place they can do it is from private home studios. So the entrepreneurial aspect of the arts is very, very, very strong. So those are the good examples. And the only way the local community or the Namibian community really supports the arts in a positive way is two ways. The first way is through anything church-like. We are a Christian community, 90-something Christian community. So if you ever do anything in a religious way, in a Christian way, there's a huge possibility of being supported. If you paint something about Christ, or if you create music about Christ and so forth, there is at least 99% chance of you being supported. And the other second way is pop culture. If a musician writes songs in a style that is trending globally, then especially the youth will support them. The people that rap right now, Afro pop from Nigeria is in. So a lot of musicians are writing Afro pop, and also house music from South Africa. So a lot of musicians are now going into that, and the youngsters love that type of music. And so when local artists write in a similar style, then they will be supported. So that's the one positive way the arts are visible. When you are passionate about something and you don't get supported, then there is a burning urge and desire in your heart to achieve it no matter what. And it is quite prevalent in our community. You see the struggling artist. They are struggling, they are unemployment, they don't have they don't have housing, they don't have pension, they don't have a monthly salary, but they are so committed to their passion and their art, and they walk in the streets and look for places to perform and look for places to exhibit, and they bring the arts to the community, to the customer, and that is one thing that has impressed me a lot. And then I would also like to talk about the word ghetto. Now, the word ghetto all over the world, I think it probably started in the States, means that you come from a area that is a minority. You come from an area that is that doesn't have all the means, probably middle class or lower class, and when you use that word and say somebody's ghetto, it usually sometimes can be derogative because you are trying to say this person is lower class. But when I hear that word ghetto, it means creating something out of nothing. And that's what I think the global South can teach the global North, is that take the word ghetto and create something out of nothing. You don't always have to have something to be creative. And that is very, very visible in our communities. And one thing that I always think about is there was a time when I was younger when these Tamagotchis or something like that was popular. These Japanese games, and the richer kids. Now we all go to one school. The well-off children, they will get the real thing. The parents will buy them the real toy. But the less fortunate child will see the real thing from the fortunate child, and then they'll go find recycled materials and create their own toy. And I think that's what the global South can teach people, is that creating something from nothing. However, I always say that, the popular word that started in 2020 on Twitter was decolonizing. Everywhere people are starting to decolonize. They're decolonizing the curriculums, the syllabi. They're decolonizing. And it's probably, and I like that word. I like it. However, I always say that when you decolonize, sometimes if you completely strip what the colonizer has taught you, it is a bit difficult to be accepted. And that's where the culture probably is also the divide between the north and the South, the culture. But if you take what the colonizer taught you, then you make it your own by adding your culture to it, then it's a way to infiltrate the Northern way of thinking. I believe that's my philosophy, because when I did research into the art song, somebody that comes from a classically trained singing perspective, we only sang Western songs. And the only way our African songs would be accepted by these global institutions that examined us as African classical singers was if you notate the African song that you want to perform, because the examiner needs the score to make sure that you're singing correctly. And that's what I mean by take what the colonizer gave you and put your culture on it.
I've attended webinar, the Afra webinar of September. It was about jewelry, ladies doing jewelry.
Yes.
And then during this webinar, they showed us the pieces that they are doing. it's the same similar minerals that we have in Namibia that they have in Ghana as well. But those ladies are so far advantaged comparing to Namibia and Botswana. Botswana also have a lot of minerals like South Africa, for instance. But the ladies in the northern part of the continent, they really did real beautiful stuff, not the craft that we are doing in jewelry. So I should say, if we can first start with the collaboration, if we can start with sharing skills, if the ministries or the governments, if they can start to support projects that aim to enhance and empower all, then I believe that from the African part, we can also share our skills with the northern part of the globe. So first we have to collaborate in-house. Mm-hmm. First, we must start to share our skills. First, we must enable those near us before we can move over. So if Africa don't collaborate, if Africa don't share, then we can't expect from others to share with us, in short.
As Doctor just said, I think it's very important to collaborate. And she was talking more on an artist level. But I also think we should also collaborate on an educational level. Because when we, the questions that you asked us before this one, before the closing, both of us spoke about many community members not appreciating the arts because they were never taught the arts in school. So that's why they don't have, and they never took part in artistic things and events and programs, and therefore they don't have appreciation. So if we can collaborate with other governments and see what were their success stories of implementing arts education in the schools are, and try it. Because the other day I read my colleague's research, and then one of the things that came up there is that we lack resources when it comes to educating the arts. Like, for example, I think the best thing that we need right now is a concise textbook, a concise textbook that the teachers can use, that can show them step by step how the procedures of how to teach the different art forms. Or we should at least take one big art form, for example, music, and just focus on it and make it examinable subject in the primary school. Because at the primary school level in Namibia, there's no examinable arts, and therefore the teachers don't take it seriously, the learners don't take it seriously, because they don't have to write tests on it. They just have to make up a quick song and then get a CA mark, and then they're done. So when it comes to collaboration, that's what I can add. Another thing that I can add is also artist exchange. Well, that is also collaboration, but I mean when our government can sort of make it easier for artists to come and work in Namibia. And when I say work, there are work visas when it comes to art, because I think the work visas are still a little bit difficult for everybody, but I think they should make it easier for arts, because arts is one of the fields in Namibia that is very neglected. So
what is work visas? Can you explain?
Work visa, for example, is if somebody from Botswana wants to come and sing in Namibia, or work for 6 months or teach music in Namibia, they will not be able to do so without a work visa. So it's a lot of paperwork that they must fill in, and and it's tedious. And that's also one of the problems they have at the College of the Arts. College of the Arts, it's a well-equipped institution. However, they lack professionals in certain areas of arts, and they are willing to take in artists from other countries and professionals of other countries to come and work. And those professionals are also willing to come, because I know of two cases of a French lady and a different lady who wanted to teach at the college, but they couldn't because of the government's strict rules when it comes to work visas and also qualifications. For example, the French lady, she has a diploma from a conservatoire, but our government says that she must at least have a bachelor's degree. And they could not understand that diploma from a conservatory in French is almost the same level as a bachelor's degree. The reason for that diploma is the same level is because they specialize in their instrument and whatnot. So I think that is also one way we can collaborate, is by artist exchange and artists being able to easily move to a different country, even in the South, and we can assist and help each other in that way by exchanging professionals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even teachers,
even if it's just for sabbatical. You take a year of sabbatical where you go and teach. Maybe a artist from South Africa will come to Namibia and teach in Namibia for a whole year, with pay and all the benefits that come with it, as a Namibian would, and vice versa. And the visa should be a easier transaction, because at the end of the day, Namibia will benefit greatly from it, because we are a little bit areas where we are lacking when it comes to the arts, especially music, that needs a lot of assistance.
We are currently working on a Africa arts education policy. We did the first draft, and hopefully we will meet at the end of this month again for the second session. So we hope that it might help the other countries to come on.